What's up, guys, and welcome back for another solo mining episode. This is going to be episode 38, and I'm going to be going out and getting some Spodumain here in Pochven. We are in the prospect. I made a few changes since I came out to Pochven before in this series, but the fit is somewhat the same. The only thing different is I'm running modulated deep core miner 2s. Regular miner 2s, you're going to get a 60-second cycle for each, but the cubic meter per second is around 5.8, whereas with these it's a flat 7, so just a little bit more yield. And that's kind of how I like to run things out here. The normal setup out for Pochven for me is usually I usually take like a porpoise with ore compression, and then a endurance, and then also a prospect, and then kind of depending on how crazy the system is, depends on what I end up using. A really quick tip: if you are looking to do any sort of abyssal mining here in Pochven, I do recommend, this character did it, most characters should do it, but you should go to Pochven in some sort of a combat ship, a pretty good combat ship, and you need to try to kill at least one rogue drone, because what that'll do is, as long as you're zero or like just null standings with trig or higher, same with intercom, if you're 0 standings or higher, they won't attack you on sight, which means you could technically use wormholes to get in and out. And also any of the trig or endo that are on grid, they will just be white to you as well. If you are negative standings with either of them, they will attack you in space. And depending on how everything goes, if you have no standings with them at all, I think you'd be fine. But I always just try to like go into Pochven with a combat ship. She did it with a Tengu because she's really highly trained. So she actually came in here in a Tengu, looked around all the gates, found some on D-scan, and just warped in and just took one out. And she was good to go. In about 10-15 minutes, you'll get the standings. But really, all one you kill will keep you. You have to be rogue drones. Make sure it's rogue drone. One kill or whatever will usually get you to the point where you won't be attacked in space. But we're going to go ahead and get started here and kind of start talking about Spodumain a little bit. Spodumain used to be just all over the place. It was one of the main things to mine in nullsec, and I think it was actually before the Trig invasion. It might have been actually the first shortening of ore, but you used to be able to find it in nullsec. You'd have entire fleets of rorquals sieging up on Spodumain, and it was just kind of the thing that everybody mined. It just, you didn't have to really do much of anything else. It was Spodumain, it was amazing. But of course, after they shorted all of the ore and kind of invasion happened and all that stuff, it just kind of disappeared from nullsec. And a lot of new miners who haven't really kind of done the research or anything like that might wonder where it's at. And for the most part, if you want Spodumain, it's going to be alongside the abyssal ores here in Pochven, which is why you see me using complex ore crystals on this, because the abyssal ore crystals actually won't mine Spodumain. It's actually falls under complex ore, which is, you know, your Argnor, your Visdot, basically your nullsec ore, because Spodumain used to be just like a nullsec thing, but they kind of put it into trig space for whatever reason. But I like mining it because it has a good variety of materials that come out of it. It's kind of like a one-stop all. If you can bring a bigger ship out into Pochven successfully, like, I mean, I probably would never bring a Mackinac out here. I think it'd be a little too slow. A lot of my strategy ends up being like, if I see something on D-scan, I cut mining lasers and then throw on the cloak. As you see, I'm at max range from this rock, so I got about 10k laser range with this, and so I try to stay pretty much near max, and then also pretty far away from 0. This allows me to just, if I see something on D-scan, I can hit F1, F2, and then hit F4 and immediately go into cloak You don't have to turn off your lasers first. You could literally just, hit your cloak and go straight in. But if you don't like turn off, if you're like you're mid-cycle, then if you don't turn off your mining lasers, and you potentially won't even get the ore for the amount of the cycle you've already done. But I don't really see Pochven as, and also the rocks are really big too. They're like big rock, small rock. Um, I've been out here and seen Spodumain rocks and stuff that are like 200,000 cubic meters. These are a little smaller today, so they're about less than 100,000, but it's still enough, right? In most cases, it takes about 15 minutes to fill up this prospect out here, and it equates to around 15 million. It's probably, as far as value goes, it's a lot more valuable as compressed, because that's usually how we bring it out of Pochven. I would say like raw, it's like 1 million ISK a minute. It's kind of in line with Mercoxis for the most part. It's probably actually it feels a lot more stressful than a Mercoxis, but you don't necessarily have to be part of like a crazy null block alliance or anything like that to get it. Obviously you can get unlucky and get into Pochven systems that are very highly policed, but in most cases for me, I've been able to just kind of jump in here, mine Rackamine, mine potato ore, do whatever I gotta do, mine the abyssals that I want, Spodumain. And normally what I'll do is there's usually NPC structures here, and I just kind of dock and hang out there, and then I do several runs with the prospect over the course of ever how long it takes, and eventually put all that stuff into the porpoise and go out to a nav that I have placed way out beyond like D-scan of any anomalies or anything like that I can it's very difficult for me to come up on D-scan, and I throw on the 75-second compressor or siege and compress everything I've got, and then when I have a good amount of value, and usually like once a week, it really depends if I need the ISK or not, but like right now I'm not even really exporting anything. I'm kind of just holding it all. If I ever do want to bring it out, I'll probably bring out the prospect with an entire mining hold full of just compressed ore from out here, which is a pretty good payday, even though I'm not really selling anything, as you guys know. Right now it's just all stockpile. But if there's any ore, whether it be like nullsec or lowsec or highsec, any ore that I would love to have more of than anything else, it would be Spodumain, just because it's if for the purpose of just industry, it's very valuable in what you get out of it. And normally if you're hunting for the materials to actually build stuff, you're kind of put in a situation where you gotta go get rare orders, and you gotta get high sec ores, you gotta go out and get null sec stuff, moon ore, and all of that. Spodumain kind of simplifies it for the most part, and it allows you to just not have to mine a crazy, I guess, variety of stuff and everything. It is a little tedious out here. I mean, as you can tell, I'm pretty much every second hitting D-scan. And the other trick I'll tell you too is if you actually set your map to the filter that shows average number of players in space in the past 30 minutes, then whenever you hit F10, you can open up the map and it'll allow you to see how many actual players are in space, even in a trig or a Pochven system, because as you know, unless you speak in local, no one's going to show up in local. And if you don't see anybody on D-scan, and you're not going to have local, and you want to know kind of how many people are popping around, or at least have been popping around in the past 30 minutes, having that filter set to your map and then opening it, and you can't just leave your map open. Every time you open the map, it'll refresh that information for you. So what I do is, you'll probably notice, is like ever so often I'll hit F10 to open up the map, and what I'm doing is I'm looking at the number of players in system. But here you go, let's go and look at the materials and talk about them a little bit. Here's what the ready process materials are for Spodumain. So you get trit, you get isogen, you get noxium, zydrine, megasite, and that's a pretty good spread. If you've ever done any sort of like industry, and you've been chasing all this stuff with certain ores, being able to go out and get like one ore to get all these is pretty great. Obviously, you still have to get, you know, pyrite and mexilon and all that stuff like that, but the fact that this has isogen and noxium in it is good enough for me. Now, it's even better if you can go and like get not just Spodumain, but you can essentially kind of get Spodumain, Rakavine, you get all the abyssal ores and Spodumain and have a lot of your bases covered. Now, depending on if you're doing a lot of T2 manufacturing, you're going to need Mercoxis as well. But Mercoxis is also available in Pochven, but I think it's more or less available in like the internal systems and the home systems. It doesn't really show up in border. But if you really wanted to commit to like the Pochven kind of mining and living, and you start getting your standings to the point where you can get into the more internal systems, then between abyssal ore and Spodumain and Mercoxis, that would allow you a lot of opportunities to get what you need pretty easily, pretty straightforward. You know, I think the one thing I've been wanting to illustrate a lot with this series is that I know that a lot of people that want to get into manufacturing, they want to, you know, mine as much, if not all, of the materials themselves. Are they get to the point where they're like, well, I have to go into low sec and mine ore because that's the only option. And I think that one thing I've been wanting to illustrate with the series is between Pochven mining and between rare ore mining, all low sec mining in manufacturing is pretty much obsolete. You don't have to do it unless, of course, you find a really good low sec system that is really chill and you don't get bothered too much by players. And obviously, I've had success with doing low sec mining. It's just I find if I'm already going to be smashing D-scan and worried about my surroundings like I am in Pochven, I'd be doing the same thing in low sec. But the difference is I'd be going after like Kernite and stuff like that as opposed to like abyssal ores. So if I'm already going to be paying hyper attention to everything around me, I might as well just be in Pochven doing the abyssal ores and Spodumain and potentially Mercoxis. Alright, we are almost full here, which is nice. It's always tedious. It's always nice filling up though. But yeah, it's really good value for this. Highly recommend it if you're kind of into this kind of thing. But like I said, if you're already in like nullsec and you're kind of, you know, spamming D-scan, or if you're in like low sec and you're already kind of like playing cautiously like this, you might as well be in Pochven, because the big difference between like doing this in low sec as opposed to like Pochven is in low sec the people who are looking for miners to gank or like to attack or whatever have local in their toolbox to use, and out here and in the limited local, that's one thing that they're not going to have going for them. So as long as you know all like the little tricks and you're able to just like be patient and take your time and, you know, monitor D-scan, monitor the map with average players in space and all that, you're going to do pretty well. And then usually a good rule of thumb is I usually try not to mine on anomalies that have other people on them. This being one of the rare occasions, because this other prospect has been out mining and stuff, so I didn't really get any suspicious activity from that person, so I did let them kind of chill. But thank you for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.